I'm 37. A mechanical engineer. The kind of guy who color-codes his tool chest and eats the same oatmeal every morning. My wife, Julia, used to call me Mr. Predictable. She meant it affectionately, at least, I thought she did. We've been married 11 years. No kids yet, though not for lack of trying. She's a freelance interior designer, and we own a modest but beautiful 3-bedroom home in Connecticut, corner lot, high hedges, neighbors close enough to borrow sugar but not too close to borrow time. Or so I believed. I travel for work. Not a lot, just once every couple of months. This last trip was to Chicago. A week-long site inspection. Dry as hell. I was supposed to fly back Thursday night. But things wrapped early, so I took the 2 p.m. Wednesday flight instead. Didn't tell Julia. Figured I'd surprise her. I got home at 8:05 p.m. The porch light was off. Odd. Julia always kept it on for me. I remember thinking she must have gone to bed early. She gets migraines sometimes. I unlocked the door quietly, still playing out the surprise in my head. Flowers in hand. My suitcase rolling behind me. But the second I stepped inside, something felt off. The hallway smelled faintly of wine and cinnamon. There was music playing softly upstairs, something jazzy, sensual. The kind of music we hadn't played together in years. I remember every detail like it's branded on the back of my eyes. My shoes were still by the door where I'd left them. My keys in the dish. A wine glass on the kitchen island, half full. Lipstick smudged on the rim. Julia's. And a second glass, empty. Still warm to the touch. I stood in the kitchen for a full minute, trying to tell myself it wasn't what it looked like. Then I heard a laugh from upstairs. A low male laugh. Not loud. Not forced. Just, comfortable. I didn't go up right away. I walked out. Sat in my car. Turned off my phone. And for the first time in years, I felt a part of myself crack, clean and quiet, like ice under a boot. The man upstairs was Aaron. He lived 2 houses down, across the cul-de-sac. Divorced, maybe mid-40s. One of those guys who jogs with perfect posture and grills shirtless even when it's cloudy. He'd lived there for 3 years, always with that smooth, detached charm that made women smile and men nod cautiously. Julia said he was harmless. Aaron's just friendly, she told me once after I caught him helping her unload groceries while I was working late. His dog peed on our lawn and he brought me a bottle of wine to apologize. Who even does that anymore? Yeah. Who even does that? I sat in the car that night, just outside the glow of our porch light, for almost an hour. No one noticed me. I watched the windows. I saw a shadow move behind the curtains in our bedroom. My bedroom. A silhouette I knew, her hair up in a messy bun, the one she always did when she didn't want to be interrupted. My throat tightened. I wanted to go back in. I didn't. Instead, I drove. Aimless. Half a tank gone before I even knew what town I was in. I ended up at a 24-hour diner an hour north, where I sat drinking burnt coffee while a teenager mopped the floor and asked if I was okay. I think I forgot how to be married, I muttered. He didn't get it. Just nodded and went back to mopping. I came home around 3 a.m. The house was quiet. No sign of Aaron. Julia was asleep, curled on her side, still in that silk camisole she wore on nights she wanted something. I watched her for a long time. Her breathing. Her arm twitching once in her sleep. The curve of her shoulder that used to feel like home. Then I noticed it. A small, red mark on her collarbone. Not from me. I lay down beside her and didn't sleep. I didn't say anything in the morning. Just made eggs like I always do, even though I hated the smell of them. She came down in her robe, hair damp from the shower, lips still red like she'd kissed someone in a dream. "You're home early," she said, playing surprised. "Yeah. Things wrapped ahead of schedule." She kissed my cheek. "I missed you." "Did you?" She blinked. "Just for a second." "Of course." I didn't press. I just smiled. "I brought you something." From my suitcase, I pulled out a small velvet box. Inside, earrings. Gold, with tiny citrines. Her birthstone. Her eyes welled up. "You remembered." "Of course I did," I said. And in that moment, I realized something: guilt looks a lot like love if you don't know what to look for. That weekend, Aaron waved at me from his driveway. I waved back. He looked me in the eye like nothing had happened. Like we were still friendly neighbors who talked about lawnmowers and gas prices. That's when I knew, it wasn't new. This wasn't a slip-up. It was a routine. And I'd been written out of the script. That night, I installed a small camera in the hallway. Hidden in the smoke detector. A week later, it caught them. Not in bed. Not naked. Nothing like that. It caught Aaron in my house. In the kitchen. Laughing, leaning over the island while Julia made tea. She was barefoot. Comfortable. Her hand brushed his chest and stayed a second too long. They weren't hiding. Because they didn't think they had to. Because I was predictable. The next day, I invited Aaron over for a beer. He accepted. We sat on the porch, 2 plastic lawn chairs and a 6-pack between us. The air smelled like grass and evening. Julia was inside, probably texting him about how surreal it all felt. I handed him a beer and smiled. "Funny thing about being away on work trips," I said. "You start to notice what changes when you're gone." He just nodded. Played dumb. I asked about his ex-wife. His job. His new landscaping. Kept the conversation light. Warm. Like we were old friends. Then I asked, "You ever do anything you regret, Aaron?" He froze just slightly. "Plenty." "Ever sleep with a neighbor's wife?" He didn't answer. Just stared at me. Not angry. Not afraid. Almost, relieved. And I realized something else: he thought I'd forgive him. That I'd walk away. That I'd let Julia make a tearful apology and we'd all go back to normal. That's when I decided. There wasn't going to be a normal anymore. But I wasn't going to explode. No shouting. No accusations. No violence. Just a plan. A slow, careful unraveling. I didn't want justice. I wanted clarity. I wanted to see exactly how deep the betrayal went. And I wanted them to show me themselves, without knowing I was watching. So I started keeping a second phone. And Julia? She started planning a weekend with her sister. But the calendar in her phone told a different story. A cottage rental. For 2. Julia left on a Friday morning. She packed light. Just a weekender bag and her laptop, said she needed the escape, to reconnect, with her sister who'd been going through a hard time. I made her coffee. Kissed her cheek. Told her to take all the time she needed. She smiled, too soft, too grateful. "I love you," she said. It landed like a slap I couldn't flinch from. She pulled out of the driveway humming to herself. She always hummed when she was excited. I gave it 10 minutes. Then I grabbed my other phone, the one with the app tied to the tracker I'd slipped inside her cosmetics bag the night after Aaron came over for that beer. Location, Southwick. I knew the cabin. We'd stayed there once, 4 summers ago, before the fertility treatments drained us financially and emotionally. The place was rustic, by a still lake where frogs sang in the morning and dragonflies hovered like sentries over the water. She'd picked that place. For him. I drove out late that night. Took the long way, headlights off for the last half-mile. Parked beneath the trees and waited. The porch lights were on. 2 wine glasses on the railing. Her voice inside, lilting and warm. Laughter, his. Through the blinds, I saw her dance. Just a spin, loose and tipsy, in one of those long t-shirts she always slept in, no pants. She used to dance for me like that. Back when the world felt like it was building towards something instead of crumbling underneath us. I stayed in my car until dawn. Then I left. Not because I couldn't take it, but because I realized something chilling. I wasn't there for revenge. I was there for proof. And I already had it. But that morning, when I stopped for gas just outside town, something strange happened. A woman tapped on my window. Mid-30s. Messy ponytail. A cigarette shaking between her fingers. "You the husband?" she asked. I stared. "What? You're Julia's husband, right? That's your wife in cabin 8. I stepped out of the car. Slowly. "Who are you?" She flicked the cigarette. Smiled bitterly. "I'm Aaron's ex-wife. Or, soon-to-be." I just stood there. "You're not the only one who got cheated on," she said. "I came by last night to drop off the last of his crap. Guess who I saw?" Her smile twisted. "They don't even lock the door." I said nothing. She went on, "You should know. Julia's not just screwing him. She's helping him." "Helping?" She lit another cigarette. "They're liquidating something. I don't know what. She's been consulting on his house flip upstate. He's trying to sell it without reporting the upgrades to avoid tax." My head spun. I thought I was dealing with a betrayal of the heart. Now it sounded like something closer to fraud. But why would Julia? "Because she thinks they're going to run away together," the woman said bluntly. "Start over. They're idiots." She handed me a thumb drive. I backed up his phone last month. Found it all. Emails. Spreadsheets. Plans. She's not just sleeping with him, she's invested in him. And then she walked off. Just like that. No name. No goodbye. Just dropped a bomb on the already scorched ruins of my marriage and disappeared into the sunrise. I got home and plugged in the drive. Emails between Julia and Aaron. Timelines. Interior designs she mocked up for a house that wasn't ours. Messages where she discussed selling my grandmother's jewelry to simplify our assets. She was planning a life without me. But using pieces of mine to build it. That night, I confronted her, but not directly. Instead, I set a trap. I called my lawyer. "Start drafting a separation," I said. "But don't file." "Not yet." Then I messaged Aaron from a spoofed number. Pretended to be a real estate investor. Offered cash for his undeclared flip. Too much cash. More than a man like him could resist. He bit. We scheduled a meeting, at the property. He even bragged about it to Julia, in an email. "I told you this would work. One more sale and we're set. We just have to get through the next few months." She replied, "He's starting to seem suspicious, though. I think he knows something." No, Julia. I didn't know something. I knew everything. That Friday, I packed my bags. Left her a note, taking a few days to think. I didn't say where I was going. But I wasn't actually leaving. I hid in our neighbor's garage. 3 houses down. David, retired, a conspiracy nut, owed me one from years ago when I caught a kid egging his Buick and didn't rat him out to his daughter. He gave me a cot, a thermos of black coffee, and a pair of binoculars. "You hunting deer or cheaters?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just watched. And on Sunday morning, Julia came home. Alone. She looked tired. Raw. Like she hadn't slept in days. I watched her enter the house. Then come back out. Walk to errands. Not knock. Use a key. She had a key to his house. I didn't follow. Not yet. I waited until she left 2 hours later. Then I walked into Aaron's backyard and opened his shed. Inside, furniture samples. Paint swatches. And something else. A file folder with both their names on it. Joint project. Joint investment. My heart pounded. I opened the last page. A bank withdrawal slip. Signed by Julia. 5 grand. From our account. To a Shell LLC Aaron owned. And the cosigner? Her sister. The one she was visiting. Julia has one sister, Rachel. 33. Fierce, sharp-tongued, always one glass of wine away from burning a bridge. She'd always been the wild card at family events, showing up late in ripped jeans and fake pearls, kissing cheeks too hard, and leaving with leftovers she didn't ask for. Julia always said Rachel had a fire that burned too hot for most people. What she didn't say is that fire had a direction. And apparently, it was pointed straight at me. The withdrawal slip I found listed both Julia and Rachel as signatories. It was from an account we rarely touched, leftover from a brief home renovation fund we'd agreed to close but never got around to. The money was supposed to go toward redoing our basement after the mold incident last fall. Now it was gone. Funneled into an LLC I'd never heard of, tied to a flip project that Aaron was managing. I wasn't just betrayed, I was invested in my own humiliation. That night, I drove to Rachel's apartment. Didn't call. Didn't text. Just showed up, heart thudding in my throat like a warning bell I couldn't silence. She opened the door wearing yoga pants and a silk robe, glass of wine already in hand. "Wow," she said. "Stormy surprise visit. Did I forget a holiday?" "I need to talk," I said. "About Julia. And Aaron." Her smile vanished. She stepped aside without another word. The apartment smelled like lavender and something artificial, cheap candles, maybe. Too clean. Too staged. We sat. She poured me a drink before I could refuse. I didn't touch it. She did. "I know about the money," I said quietly. "The withdrawal. The LLC. Your signature." Her fingers paused around the glass. Then she leaned back and laughed. Bitter. Empty. "You really are the last one to know. Tell me everything." She shrugged. "What do you want to hear?" "That your perfect wife is screwing the guy who power washed his driveway shirtless for attention. That she used your marriage like a launch pad for some twisted escape plan." I didn't flinch. "Start with the LLC." Rachel exhaled sharply. "It was Aaron's idea. Julia didn't want you to know she was consulting for him, said you'd make it weird. So she used the old fund, funneled the cash through my name to keep it clean. So she's laundering money through her sister. She thought it was smart. Strategic." Rachel's lips twisted. "But mostly, she wanted control. Over you. Over the project. Over herself. She's planning to leave me." Rachel met my eyes. For once, no sarcasm. "She already left. She just hasn't told you yet." I felt something inside me break, a thread that had been pulled too tight for too long. And then Rachel added something I didn't expect. She asked me to lie. "What?" "The weekend you caught her at the lake." She asked me to say she was with me. That I was struggling and needed girl time. Said you were too fragile to handle the truth. I swallowed. "And you agreed?" Rachel's mouth thinned. She's my sister, Mark. But she's not good. Not anymore. Silence. Then she said the line that stuck in my throat for hours after. You're not the only one she's lying to. I stared. What do you mean? Rachel drained her glass. Refilled it. Didn't look at me. She tells Aaron she loves him. But I've seen the way she texts him. It's all manipulation. Promises she doesn't mean. She's not building a life with him, she's building an escape route. And when she's done with him, she'll vanish, I finished. Rachel nodded. Like smoke. That night, I didn't go home. I sat in my car outside a grocery store parking lot. The air was thick with the smell of wet asphalt and spring rot. My thoughts spiraled. What if Rachel was lying too? What if this was all part of it? What if everyone around me was playing some long con, and I was the joke with his name on the punchline? I opened my phone and looked at the camera feed from our hallway. At 11:42 p.m., the front door opened. Julia stepped in. Alone. She looked tired. Worn down. The way she used to look after our fertility treatments, drained of hope but still smiling like she owed the world something. She stood in the hallway for a long time. Just standing. Then she looked straight at the camera. Right into it. Like she knew. And she whispered something. I rewound. Turned up the volume. I'm sorry, she mouthed. No sound. Just lips. Just eyes filled with something I couldn't read. Not guilt. Not love. Something deeper. Like she was mourning a death that hadn't happened yet. I went home the next morning. She was already up. Making coffee. Wearing the hoodie she always stole from me. Hair messy. Eyes calm. Like nothing had happened. Hey, she said, smiling. You okay? I stared. Then said the quietest words I could manage. Who are you, Julia? Her smile faltered. But only for a moment. Then she reached across the counter and touched my hand. And I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. That touch, her fingers on mine, used to mean something. Used to send sparks, or comfort, or sometimes just a steadying warmth that said, we're okay. Now it felt clinical. Like being handed a receipt. Do you want to talk about it? She asked, pouring cream into her coffee, swirling it like nothing in the world had changed. I didn't answer. Because I wasn't ready to talk. I was ready to listen. To everything she wouldn't say. Over the next few days, I became a ghost in my own home. Floating behind her as she folded laundry, stirred pasta, sent emails. She laughed at her phone sometimes, too brightly. Took walks when it rained. Called her sister with the door closed, even though I knew Rachel wasn't on the other end. I played along. I cooked dinner. Kissed her forehead. Said things like, I missed you this week, and maybe we should take a weekend away soon. She nodded. Smiled. Lied right back. There was a power in pretending. Especially when the other person thought you still believed. On Thursday, she left her laptop open. Maybe by accident. Maybe on purpose. I didn't care. Because what I found reframed everything. A draft email. Unsent. To her lawyer. Subject line, separation logistics. I skimmed the body. Please advise on how to best approach an informal separation while preserving mutual assets. I'm concerned about Mark's emotional state if confronted too directly. He's volatile. I'd prefer if I could slowly transition financial matters before formally initiating. Volatile. That word sat like acid in my throat. She wasn't just leaving. She was framing it. Planning to build a paper trail. Cast herself as the soft-spoken survivor. The reasonable wife trying to escape the unstable husband. I closed the laptop. Didn't breathe for a full minute. Then I smiled. Because now I understood the real game. Julia wasn't in love with Aaron. That wasn't what this was. She wasn't even running to him. She was running from me. Or rather, from the version of me she'd rewritten. In her head, I was the emotionally distant man who worked too much, asked too few questions, and would eventually snap. She was building a story. And she planned to win it. But here's the thing Julia forgot. I'm an engineer. I don't snap. I calculate. The next night, I met Rachel again. This time, not in her apartment. I asked her to meet me at the old stone bridge on Northwood Lane. The one Julia used to love when we were dating, before she started calling everything I loved predictable. Rachel showed up late. Lit another cigarette. She looked tired in a new way. I shouldn't be here, she said. If Julia finds out. She won't, I said. Rachel leaned on the railing, watching water pass like time we couldn't reclaim. She used to be so good, she said softly. I don't know when that changed. I did. It was around the second failed IVF cycle. When we both stopped dreaming out loud. When we stopped making lists of baby names and started talking about, what if not? But I didn't say that. Instead, I asked her the one question I had been circling for days. Are you still in on it? Rachel blinked. What? The money. The LLC. The cover stories. Are you still part of it? Her laugh was bitter. You think she told me the whole plan? I was just the legal middleman. The fake alibi. The name she borrowed to feel cleaner about what she was doing. I studied her face. The cigarette trembled in her hand. Why are you helping me? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, because I'm tired of playing second to someone who never deserved first. I stared. And in that moment, something locked into place. Rachel wasn't just guilty. She was jealous. Not of me. Of Julia. And Julia? She'd never seen the storm she was building with her own sister. Back home, Julia was asleep when I returned. Or pretending to be. Her breathing was too even. I sat on the edge of the bed and whispered. I know what you're doing. She didn't move. I know about the money. The lawyer. The house flip. The emails. Nothing. I also know you've been recording our conversations. Her eyelids fluttered. She turned, eyes wide now. What? You left your old phone under the car seat, I said softly. Voice memos. Mostly boring stuff. You asking about my schedule, making it sound like I was hiding something. Trying to bait me. I wasn't, she began. I cut her off. I'm not angry, I said. I'm fascinated. She sat up, back straight. Mark, I don't know what you think you found. I found the story you're writing, I said. And I'm writing a better one. Her face changed. Fear. Maybe. Or something worse. Recognition. The moment you realize the person you underestimated is no longer playing. That weekend, I went to Aaron's. Unannounced. He opened the door in gym shorts and no shirt, like some Abercrombie ghost that forgot it aged. Hey man, he said. Everything okay? I smiled. Handed him a folder. What's this? Proof, I said. Of everything Julia's done. He opened it. Flipped through the pages. Spreadsheets. Printouts. The unsent email. A summary of the shell company's accounts. She's lying to you, I said. He looked up. And for the first time, Aaron didn't look smug. He looked used. Because he was. I left without another word. Sometimes the only thing more devastating than a punch is the truth. That night, Julia sat across from me at dinner. Her fork moved like it was made of lead. "You went to him," she said flatly. "Yes." "What did you tell him?" "The truth." She nodded slowly. Then she whispered, "What do you want from me, Mark?" And I said, "Nothing." Because by then, I'd already taken everything back. Julia didn't speak to me for 2 days after that dinner. Not out of fear. Out of calculation. I could see her retreating behind her eyes, filing, editing, redrafting the version of herself she'd need to become next. The scorned wife angle had collapsed. The manipulated co-investor was crumbling. Now she was searching for a new mask. That's what scared me most. Not that she lied, but that lying came so naturally. On the third day, I came home to find Rachel standing in our living room. Uninvited. She was holding a mug of coffee like it belonged to her, eyes narrowed as Julia stood by the window, arms crossed, tension pouring off her in waves. Neither looked at me. I closed the door softly. "What's going on?" Rachel didn't move. "Ask your wife." Julia's voice was low, icy. "She stole from me." Rachel barked a laugh. "You mean exposed you?" "Mark gave you access," Julia hissed, stepping toward her. "You're not some vigilante. You're a jealous, bitter." "Stop," I said. They both looked at me then. I'd never seen two women with such different hate in their eyes. Rachel's was ancient. The kind sisters carry when one steals too much oxygen growing up. Julia's was sharper. Surgical. A woman whose blueprint for control had just been red-inked. "Julia," I said quietly. "Why don't you sit?" "I'm not." "Sit." She did. Rachel didn't. I looked between them. Then I dropped the last card I had. "I've transferred the house to my name only. Yesterday. My lawyer backdated the claim. It's done." Julia's mouth opened. Nothing came out. She hadn't expected that. "I've closed the joint account," I added. "And I spoke to the IRS about Aaron's flip. Told them I was concerned about unreported improvements being laundered through a fake consulting firm." Her face paled. "You didn't," she whispered. I turned to Rachel. "And I know what you've been doing, too." Her smile faltered. "What?" I held up a printed message, one I'd pulled from Aaron's backup phone. It wasn't from Julia. It was from Rachel. "He'll break eventually. Just keep feeding him suspicion. If you can get him to snap, it'll all go your way. I'll keep my end clean. Sent 2 months ago." Rachel blinked. And for the first time in weeks, I felt it. Silence. Not the tense kind that's pregnant with lies. The kind that follows a detonation. Julia turned to her sister. "You were helping me." Rachel shrugged. "No," she said. "I was helping me." After Rachel left, Julia didn't ask any questions. She sat alone in the living room, lights off, staring at nothing. I didn't go to her. Because for the first time since this all began, the house felt honest. Empty. Quiet. Broken. But honest. That night, she came into the bedroom. Didn't get under the covers. Just stood in the doorway and whispered, "So what now?" I looked at her. The woman I married. The woman I lost. The woman who never really let me see her. And I said the only thing that felt real anymore. Now I live. And you, disappear. Julia left on a Tuesday. Suitcase, scarf, sunglasses, like she was stepping into some old film where women disappear with grace instead of handcuffs. She didn't slam the door. She didn't cry. She didn't say goodbye. Just. I hope you find peace in all this. I didn't answer. Because peace had nothing to do with it anymore. The silence after was surgical. Not healing, just precise. Rooms felt bigger. Drawers opened to reveal only what was real. The scent of her lavender shampoo faded slower than I expected, like it had been tattooed into the walls. But even that eventually went. I kept the camera feeds for a while. Not out of paranoia. Out of ritual. Every night I'd watch the time-stamped stillness of the house, the hallway where Erin once stood. The bedroom doorway she once whispered apologies into. Just empty frames now. Echoes. Rachel tried calling. Twice. I didn't pick up. The second time, she left a voicemail. Be careful, Mark. You think you won, but people like her always leave a door cracked open. You'll see. She was wrong. Julia didn't leave a door cracked. She left a window. One I didn't find until 2 weeks later. It was tucked in a folder on her old desktop. Labeled simply. Legacy. Inside were videos. Not of us. Not of Erin. Not even of Rachel. They were videos of her. Alone. Talking into the camera like it was her only confidant. The first one was dated the night I returned from Chicago. She sat in the dark, barefaced, robe loose around her shoulders. I think he knows, she whispered. He didn't say anything, but his eyes did. I don't know what's worse, him knowing, or him pretending not to. Another one. A week later. I keep telling myself Erin means something. That we're building something real. But it feels like scaffolding overwrought. I'm lying to both of them. Another. Later still. I hate who I am around Rachel. Always have. She's this mirror that shows you the ugliest parts of yourself. And you start believing that's all you are. And then, the final one. Just 2 days before she left. She was crying. No makeup. No wine. No defense. Mark. I don't know if you'll ever see this. Maybe I hope you don't. But in case you do, please believe this, I loved you. Once. Maybe still. Maybe in a way that doesn't look like love anymore. She looked away. I didn't want to become this. But it was like watching someone else step into my body. I just let it happen. And by the time I wanted to stop, I couldn't remember how. She leaned forward. You were always the better one. Then the screen went dark. I sat there for a long time. Not angry. Not vindicated. Just, hollow. Because the truth wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. And it showed me that Julia wasn't a villain. She was a drowning woman who'd convinced herself the lifeboat was a trap. And me? I was the water she'd learned to fear. Last week, I took down the hallway camera. Deleted the backups. Burned the last of the emails. Shredded the withdrawal slips. Donated the ring. Because stories don't end when someone leaves. They end when you stop rereading the chapters. The neighbor sold his house. New couple moved in, young, optimistic, with a dog that barks at shadows. I waved once. They waved back. No one crossed the lawn. And the window Julia left open. I closed it. Locked it. But I never nailed it shut. Because somewhere in the distance, behind silence, beyond closure, I know she's still rewriting the ending. And maybe. So am I.